Welcome guys. In this tutorial, we're going to be teaching you how to perform the perfect skin the cat. So let's crack on. So although it's a rather odd name for an exercise, the skin the cat is actually an awesome exercise for improving strength and flexibility throughout the upper body. It's going to train muscles around the shoulders, muscles around the scapula, also the core and the hip flexors. It's also going to stretch through the biceps, the front of the shoulders and the pecs. Now the 3 cues you really want to focus on when performing your skin the cat are 1, trying to pull with straight arms. Now a lot of people when they start will pull with bent arms, and that's not really a problem, but in order to develop your perfect skin the cat, you do want to be pulling with straight arms. Secondly, you want to work on creating as much compression as possible when performing the movement. So what I mean by that is bringing the knees or the legs as close to the torso as possible. Finally, you want to work on having as much range of motion as possible when performing your skin the cat. So let's take a look at progression 1 on the low rings. So the advantage to performing the skin the cat on the low rings in progression 1 is that you can use the floor for assistance. Applying the 3 cues, the exercise should look like this. Now the 3 most common mistakes that we see in a skin the cat are 1, people bending the arms and pulling with bent arms. This is okay, it's going to be a little bit easier. However, to develop proper strength around the shoulder and the scapula, you do want to be pulling with straight arms. Secondly, people don't pull the knees all the way in. You want to try and get the knees in as close to the body as possible using the hip flexors and the abs, and that way you're going to shorten the leverage of your body and make the exercise easier. Finally, people don't use full range of motion through the shoulders. When you get into the bottom portion of the skin the cat, which is known as German hang, you want to be in as much shoulder extension as possible. And what's great here is you can use the floor for assistance down there. So a bad skin the cat would look like this. Pulling with bent arms, not bringing the knees all the way in, so making it harder for yourself, and then not using full range of motion through the shoulders. What you want to do is keep the arms straight, pull with them straight, bring the knees in as close as possible using the abs and hip flexors, and then use full range of motion through the shoulders, even if that means touching the floor. On the way back, bring the knees in as close as you can again, and keep the arms straight. So there you have it guys. Let's get the rings up and show you what a tuck skin the cat looks like on them high rings. So progression number 2 is our tuck skin the cat on the high rings. Now it can be a little bit more scary once you get up nice and high, so if it's your first time doing it or you've not had that much practice with it, stick a mat underneath just in case you need to fall from the German hang, which is the extended position at the end of the skin the cat. So applying the 3 cues, it should look like this. Now the most common mistakes that we see when performing this movement are again, starting by pulling with bent arms. You want to try and have them arms nice and straight, so use the correct muscles. Secondly, what we see is people leaning back too early or not bringing them knees in enough. You want to be trying to compress as much as possible and get them knees right into the chest once again. Okay, that's going to shorten the leverage and make it easier. Finally, not going all the way around and using that full flexibility through the shoulders. Now, as I mentioned at the start, if you are quite new to it and you end up in this German hang position, which is the extended position, and you can't get back through, all you need to do is keep your eyes on the floor and then drop down to your mat that you've already placed down for yourself. If you are strong enough though and you do feel like you can get back through, just roll the head, roll the chest in, bring the knees nice and tight, and you'll be absolutely fine. So a bad skin the cat would look like this. Bending the arms, not bringing the knees in far enough and leaning back too early, and then not using full range of motion through the shoulders. What you want to try and do is keep the arms nice and straight and pull with them straight. Keep the torso upright. Bring the knees in as close as possible using the abs and hip flexors, and then use full range of motion through the shoulders. If you get stuck here, keep your eyes on the floor and you can drop down to the mat. If you're strong enough to though, you want to try and draw the chin and chest in, draw the knees all the way into the chest, keep the arms straight, and roll back through. So finally, what I want to do is show you the straight leg skin the cat. So if you've mastered the last 2 progressions you can perform say 5 clean reps with grace and beauty, then it's time for our straight leg skin the cat. So what it should look like is this. So at this point, you should already be able to have straight arms during the whole movement, and also you should already be starting to use full range of motion through the shoulders when you're performing the exercise. So the most common mistake we see here is not getting that compression right. So what you want to be doing is trying to pull them legs all the way into torso while the torso is vertical, and then starting the roll around. If you feel like you're unable to do this, it could likely be due to tight hamstrings or a tight lumbar spine. So work on freeing up them areas, developing a bit more flexibility there, and then you'll be able to use that strength in the abs and hip flexors to get them legs all the way into the body and perform the rep as gracefully as possible. So a bad rep, in terms of this cue that we just talked about, would look like this. What often happens is people lean back too early, they won't bring the legs in enough, and again, by this point, you should be able to use full range of motion. On the way back as well, they're not getting that compression, the legs are miles away from the torso, so it doesn't look anywhere near as graceful, and you're not going to be using the abs and hip flexors anywhere near as much. What you want to do, keep the torso upright, pull the legs in as close as possible like a toaster bar, and then start the roll through. On the way back, exactly the same. Pull the knees all the way into the chest, get as much compression as possible, and that way you're going to get the most bang for your buck through the abs and the hip flexors. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Please ensure that you apply them 3 cues throughout your Skin the Cat training. Cheers.